You up?
All right, good morning. Welcome to our June 29th meeting of the Board of Supervisors. I'm going to call the meeting to order. Ask Craig Slay if he will do our invocation.
Yes, we'd be glad to. Let's pray. Well, God, we always come before you first, before we get these meetings started, with good reason. Father, we need you to give us the wisdom and the discernment that is necessary for these men to carry out their responsibilities. We thank you, Father, for their skills, their abilities, how you bless them. Father, your word tells us that you place these men in authority, that comes from you. And Lord, that our community is blessed because of your involvement in who it is that represents our interests. I'm grateful, Lord, and thank you that we can participate in this process. What a blessing that is, Lord, to know that we have a place, that we have a role as citizens, Lord, with respect to governments. That is a blessing that is not widely known across the world. So help us to never take that for granted. God, guide us and protect us. Continue to bring the men and women who protect us every day home safely to their families. In Christ's name, amen.
Amen. All right, I think our order will be to go to the Planning Commission and start with call to order. We have considerations and approval May 30th minutes. Do I have a motion on that?
Make a motion to approve the minutes of May
Second.
30.
All right, Brad makes a motion. I think Jared seconds the motion. Any other discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes. All right, now old business.
All right, so there's one item under old business, if y'all want to review it. If not, we'll move on.
I think that would be Jay's district.
It is.
Let's move on unless somebody here has something.
I'm good.
Okay. All right, I guess we don't need to have a motion or anything.
No, just a review.
All right, new considerations. The first one on the list has been pulled.
Okay.
We will review it, I assume, later. And just recently, in the last few days, we've been told there's a conflict as to entrance. So anyhow, I think the best is to hold on until we know all of the facts.
Okay.
All right, let's move to number 2.
All right. That's a conditional use permit for Michael Hodge at 136 Bellafleur Drive. He's seeking the conditional use permit to construct a 1,200 square foot home with metal siding on this property. Bellafleur is off of 469 across from Magnolia Springs. It's a 3.18 acre parcel. It's zoned RE1. That's an aerial view of the property. He was previously approved in August of 2021 for a 3,000 square foot home with a metal exterior. And now he's wanting to do just 1,200 square feet. He says that he will add on to that structure and begin construction of the 3,000 square feet when he moves into the 1,200 square foot area. He's going to use that as an attached garage. 1,200 square feet, it'll be converted to an attached garage. The home will sit approximately 200 feet off the road. These are the elevations. And this is a view of that property. These are adjoining properties. And this is just the entrance coming in, and that's the entrance to Magnolia Springs, which is across the street, across 469.
No, you can't see that.
No,
From
not
that
from where he
yeah.
is. So, that's it. If y'all are okay with that, we can move to the next section.
Okay.
Okay,
So we're gonna, because it's going down to set a public hearing. for
that's
you.
right.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Right.
So the next section is to set the public hearings. And number
As
5.
far as an item 1, we need to reflect in the minutes that we're passing item 1, since there's already been an indication that we're not in a position to set anything until we get that access issue figured out. So item 1 under set public hearings, we're going to skip.
Okay.
Item 2 will be.
I'll make a
to
motion to set
the
that public hearing.
All right, second that public hearing.
All right, Jared makes a motion to set it, Brad seconds. Any other discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes.
What, under new considerations, what's the discussion of firearm shooting facility?
That, we do have a discussion on that, I'm sorry, about a proposed firearm shooting facility ordinance. Did y'all have a chance to review that when I sent it out on your email?
Yeah.
I might not have looked at it.
Huh?
I don't know if I
Why don't
did.
we look at that on Monday? If
Okay.
that suits everybody,
All right.
that's okay.
That's fine with me.
Look at it on Monday, that would give you guys a chance over the weekend to take a quick look.
All right.
This is just a way for us to establish an appropriate set of regulations.
Countywide.
For the, countywide, for the construction of a firearm shooting facility. So that's what it is for. There would be regulations that address how that gets established, where it gets established, distances, baffles, sound, those kinds of things that would help people understand what the rules are.
That's not gonna affect the one that we already approved on the
Any
49.
facility that is in place
Yeah.
is taken care of under the ordinance as an existing facility. There's an entire section that allows for that to be grandfathered.
Okay.
But any new facilities from the date of adoption, should the board choose to adopt this ordinance, from the date of adoption forward, any new facility would have to come into compliance with those regulations. It's basically structured around a national set of regs that apply to firearm safety. And so I think what you'll find is that they are very reasonable regulations that promote a safe way to discharge firearms for the purposes of training and law enforcement training, all that stuff that would come to mind, in addition to the land use piece of it as well.
Okay.
Okay?
The one that's on, that's been there, I don't ever know it not being there, but on Florence Byram Road. I mean, it's a big deal, but I just wonder if they have anything from, I mean, to follow up on, to go by, because they've been there a long time and never had any problems with them.
Yes,
I
sir.
just wonder if they have.
They are not subject to the regulations.
No.
They won't have to do anything we do.
No, I understand. I understand that. I'm just wondering if they have something that we could use as a kind of a pattern that we look at.
Yes, sir. Well, the pattern that's adopted in the ordinance is a nationally
Okay.
recognized
Okay.
shooting facility.
Okay.
Renee, help me, I think it's the National Rifle Association that actually put together a set
Oh,
of
NRA.
uniform guidance.
Oh.
Yes, sir. So it's
Okay.
well recognized as an industry standard.
Okay, okay.
All right.
Excellent.
All right,
With that, Mr. President, we can move into the nuisance property considerations with board's indulgence. The first item under nuisance property hearings is MSTR EO LLC, a nuisance property at 600 Jerusalem Church Road, this District 1 property. This time I'll ask if for anyone who is a representative of MSTR EO LLC to be prepared to come forward. Renee will demonstrate with the photos.
I think.
All right, so
I've
we
had it
received a
in
complaint on this
years
property. I think we've worked this before.
Right.
The first letter was mailed on April the 23rd. Kathy took these pictures on April 27th.
Keep your bush hog.
The complaint was about the tall grass, just unkempt property.
Anybody living there? No. Hmm.
It was like rental property back then.
Did I pass, those were the neat pictures, I'm sorry.
Is there anyone here on behalf of MSTR EO LLC? Anyone? Mr. President, I don't see anyone here to speak on behalf of the entity. It's really the board's pleasure as to what to deal, how to deal with it, so.
do we know the circumstances? I mean, just from the looks of this, as much pressure is on for housing And especially, this looks rural and
Big
large. Why would it be?
I know.
All right.
Big lot. Looks pretty big.
I know I think the last time when it was, I had that part there and I don't know, probably in 19 or, no, it had to be in 20, when it came before us. We declared it a nuisance or maybe sent it to justice court and they came out and bush dogged it, I think.
They had a company doing it, now it has changed names, so it's a whole different group doing it.
This is an outfit, Brad, that is in the foreclosure buying business, tax sale buying business. I suspect that these are distant owners, unaware of present circumstances, and it may be appropriate just to declare it a nuisance so that the court can make contact and get somebody's attention.
So your recommendation, would go ahead and declare it
Just
nuisance?
declare it, yes, sir.
I'll make a
Justice court?
motion, declare it as a nuisance.
Yeah, I mean, I second. How big a lot is it? Looks like a lot, pretty big acres.
3 acres.
Huh?
3.
Oh.
All right, any other discussion?
Lot, okay.
All in favor?
Let the record reflect that item 1, public hearing is closed. Item 2, Mr. President, under nuisance considerations is the Terry Job nuisance property at 427 Mallard Point. This is District 3 property. We'll open that public hearing. I'd ask Mr. Job or anyone on behalf of the Jobs to be prepared to come forward. Renee is going to demonstrate with the photos.
All right, so we've had complaints on this property before also. We received one April 17th about grass, rubbish, and debris, inoperable appliances, and inoperable vehicles. Kathy took these pictures on the 17th. The certified mail was unclaimed, but we did get a call from somebody who said they were renting and that they would clean up the property. These are the new pictures that were taken yesterday.
Kathy, does that look, what I saw was visclean and stuff, does it look like they're painting or they're doing something?
No, they
Or is
ain't
that
painting.
just trash?
I can't tell.
Is anything going on?
I'll make a motion to declare it a nuisance.
Second.
Okay. All right. Brad makes a motion, Jared seconds it. Any other discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Motion passes.
Item 2, public hearing is closed. Item 3, Mr. President, is the nuisance property consideration for Timothy Jones, nuisance property 102 Oakdale Circle. It's a District 4 property. We'll open that public hearing. I'd ask that Mr. Jones or anyone on his behalf be prepared to step forward to address the board, and Ms. Renee will demonstrate with the photos.
All right, so we received a complaint on this on March the 20th. These pictures are dated March the 20th. Rubbish and debris, inoperable vehicles, inoperable appliances, and a fence. Certified mail was delivered, and the owner has called twice and asked for more time to clean up. So these were the first pictures. And these are the new pictures that were taken yesterday.
Go back. Okay. I've talked with Mr. Jones. I know some details that are not in pictures and stuff. I'd like to give Mr. Jones 60 days and let's see what progress we've made.
I have gotten cars that didn't run removed. I mean, they're being worked on. As you can tell, I put that barrier up there in
Yes.
front. We've got a neighbor out there that's complaining about me and my other neighbor and several others. He's chronically doing this. He has cameras that are facing my house, taking that view. I'm under his surveillance 24/7.
Yeah.
It's crazy. So, but I talked to my neighbor who has the same barrier that I do. I was talking to Kathy about it. I put up the same barrier he did, and he said he researched. But he said he was cutting down trees, 9 trees in his yard. And this individual that's right across in front of me came over and started chewing him out because he didn't cut the grass, because the skid steer or whatever it was, caused a lot of ruts in there. He couldn't use his lawnmower. He cut around it, but left some. So this guy chewed him out for not cutting his grass. Anyway, we got a problem with this guy. He doesn't like kids. I've been at my neighbor's house, and
You're
you
a
drive,
troop leader, aren't you?
sir?
Aren't you a troop leader?
Yes, sir. I'm a scoutmaster. Well, it was. We had to
You
fold.
can really get along with him then.
Well, I tried to.
I know, I was just,
I do a lot of fundraisers, and on my driveway, that debris that you saw was me dropping and going. Lately, since January, I've had 3 of my vehicles that I use pickup trucks. I've had to throw stuff under there because I don't have anything covered to keep it out of the weather and put it back in a truck. And I keep having to do that, and I've got stuff under there that I need in a quick notice. You don't know what it is to put on the campery and have all your games and stuff there and then put them back in, and then to come back and pick up your business tools to go back out and do work.
well, you told me that you were going to enclose or cover area behind your house.
Yes,
Just a
yes.
patio
Yes.
that you can store a lot of this in.
I haven't,
No.
yeah.
That'll probably help a lot.
I work
Go ahead,
for
Greg.
a company called Blake Wallace out of Brookhaven. And his company gonna give me a discount and put in an awning over my patio. But he says he's a couple of months out. And that's what's happened to me during this post-pandemic, is in my work, which is testing, adjusting, balancing, air conditioning. I've had Forest Hill Schools, was supposed to have been finished a year ago, May. We just got the equipment in last March. And I've been out there working as hard as I can, and I'm not in good health at the moment. I got 103-degree fever,
Oh,
a shot in
Lord.
the hip, and, and 1,200 milligram antibiotic tablets. And I don't know where I got it from. I went to the heart clinic, PET test. Y'all need to hear all this?
No.
Treadmill test,
No.
y'all been there? And I've had all my blood, can't find anything wrong with it, other than the blood pressure medicine and stuff. But I try to lead a decent life and a clean life. The vehicles that I have there are, that's my mother's car. That's what I'm riding around in. I'm doing conduit work out of a Grand Marquis.
Yeah.
One of my trucks is fixed. I gotta go pick it up. And when I get the truck fixed, I'll move the stuff out of there. Yesterday, my main water line blew on the house. I had to drop, stop, and roll and get that fixed back up because my foundation is shifting. I told Kathy, I want to get the stuff fixed, but I got to get my foundation fixed before I get a new roof. I put a roof on one end of it because it was leaking so bad on the carport. But all this has got to fall in sequence, and I can't get there.
Tim, let Craig explain.
Yeah.
60 days, let's see where we're at.
Okay.
Absolutely, that should give us plenty of time to deal with this. As it relates to the gentleman who's apparently, and I'm looking at Renee for help here, we may have a serial complainer here. that,
Yes, he complained a
uh,
couple of months about the soffit on my
Is
house.
this happening with other properties in the neighborhood,
Yes, sir.
Renee?
I don't think so.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
I will-
104 Oakdale.
Once in a while, he'll send in a few, but
He complained about him and his
He's the main one
bulldozer
you
in his
would like.
backyard.
Okay, so what I would propose is let's let Mr. Jones get this dealt with. In the future, what I might suggest is that if we get a complaint from the gentleman across the street, I'd like to see it, know about it, and be involved in that, to address it before we ever get to this point. And maybe set a few ground rules
Yes.
for the neighborhood, that would be more in keeping with us not having to deal with these issues that are very localized here in our board meetings. So that would just be a proposal that I would make. Let's make sure that I know what's going on with Mr. across the street.
Okay, well, the appliances that are under my carport do work.
Okay.
My food, and have you opened it? Have you opened up my refrigerator? See that it works? I've got a small refrigerator in the house. This is a full-size refrigerator on my carport. I've got, Dr. Pepper, bottled water, everything, my large gallon jars for the scout troop, and I'm cooking for them and stuff. They do work. But Kathy said I had to take the door off of them, the ones that weren't working, but that's not the state law.
It's a public health and safety issue.
Yeah, but
We don't want kids
that's for
flying
ones
in
that
there.
are not working.
Oh, well,
So you,
I'm using one as a cabinet to keep my tools in. But anyway, it works. It will work. Just don't want cold tools.
all right, Mr. Jones,
okay.
thank you. We gotta move on. We got a whole nother part of our meeting we gotta get to. We will,
That motion's gonna be to delay for
Yes,
60 days.
yes.
And we'll reconsider with another
Yeah.
report in 60 days from now.
Okay, who do I get to talk to? Kathy?
Kathy.
Ms. Kathy.
Well, I called you, but you didn't return my phone call.
Sorry, I did not receive it.
Okay. Well, anyway, but you saw
But
the
I've
picture.
called you every other time that I have received it.
Yeah, I appreciate that. What about the barriers? That look all right for you?
I don't know what barriers.
They're-
I didn't see a
They're-
picture.
Yeah, the wood
They're gonna
across the
come out and look at
carport.
it.
The end of
Oh,
the
the
carport, he
barrier.
put that wood across there.
I don't know. I mean, this is not a high density subdivision. I don't even know if it's platted at all. I don't know. Y'all look at it, if it looks safe, that type stuff, I guess it's whatever your flavor is. Okay? All right. Thank you.
Appreciate it. I can go.
Yes, sir. All right, motion is to
60 days.
review this in 60 days and see what progress we have made. Gonna have a second.
I'll-
All right, Daniel seconds. Any other discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? That's the motion. All right. Our next meeting be August 3rd, and I make a motion we adjourn from the planning commission.
Second.
Second, okay.
All right, I made a motion, Daniel second. Any other discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes. Adjourned. All right, we will move in to the other section of our meeting, Board of Supervisors. We'll call this part to order again, and we start off with public comments. On the first one, I have Sherry Copeland.
She was confused. No, she's not here. She was confused.
Okay,
Well-
so she's not here. Tim Jones was here and has already spoke. Scott Kenny? Kelly?
He's under additional business.
Okay, well then, we will, move on from public comments to Mike Harrison, Road Manager. That would be you, sir.
No. He went down the section after public comments.
You're after public comment. You're up, Ron.
We better get Scott Berry's glasses.
C-Spire and C-Spire.
Excuse me. Request ceasefire permit, to be constructed and attained on Highway 471 in District 4.
Motion to approve.
Second.
All right, I made a motion, Daniel seconds. Any other discussion? All in favor, well, we made a motion now, all in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Motion passes.
Request and approval of ceasefire permit, villas in the reservoir along Hugh Ward Boulevard.
I'll make that motion to approve.
All right, Daniel makes a motion to approve. Do I have a second? I second it. Any other discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any
opposed? Motion passes.
And Daniel, I have talked to Mr. Floyd in there, and I told him when they go in there now, they'll have to regulate them in there because we have no right of way in there.
Yeah, hey, and, hey Samantha, would you shoot them, that Mr. Floyd guy an email and just remind them that they're coming in there to lay that fiber? And then, I know we're gonna need a contact, cause this is gonna go bad. We know it's gonna go bad.
Yeah.
So,
But they're the ones requesting it, so
yeah, but it doesn't matter. Once they start tearing up the neighborhood and, ripping out everything else and
I made them pull
cutting
the
the water
permit.
lines and all that kind of stuff, it's gonna happen.
Yeah.
So would you mind just, at least be sure Samantha has a good contact for C-Spire? Cause you know what's coming.
Thank you.
Do we know if C-Spire's
signage is, are they good about getting signage up and that type of thing? So-
Yes, sir. What this is, Craig, you know, this is kind of, this road's got a lot of private stuff off of it.
Yep.
And we don't have, we've got the road that makes a circle in there, but we don't have no right-of-way issue that we dealt with that was taken a long time ago.
Right.
And,
I remember that.
and so, anyway, I've talked to the HOA president, Ms. Floyd, that runs this, and what they're wanting is a ceasefire in there, but they had to bore under Hugh Ward Boulevard. So, we had to make them pull a permit, and I told them once they go into their subdivision, they've got to manage it and monitor it.
And just, you know, I think we're well served to have those signs up, Daniel.
Which we will check them,
Yeah.
you know, even though they're not on our right of way, we'll still make sure.
The
they're
yards are
properly.
just so small in the
Yeah,
villas. I mean, they're
that's
very,
right.
very tiny.
That's
So
right.
once they get just a few feet off the roadway, they're gonna be at the guy's front door.
Absolutely.
So it's just, you know, the townhomes are very, very small and narrow, so it's gonna be a bad situation.
Yep. Yes, I'm working for it.
Thank
Yep.
All right, Craig?
Yes, sir. First item under my section, gentlemen, is it's a ratification. This is a ratification of a absolute general release and settlement. This relates to what we mentioned to you guys at the last board meeting, that as a result of our pursuit of Gulf South Pipeline and their Gulf South's failure to provide adequate information to the tax assessor's office with respect to customer gas, that activity, that litigation has resulted in our being able to collect from one of Gulf South's customers, Atmos, the back taxes that are owed to Rankin County. That recovery was $1.1 million, and we reported that to you guys as one of our successes in that effort. And so this is a ratification that I need, just a motion to approve and to ratify the absolute general release and settlement with the Atmos Energy Corporation, now that they have paid the outstanding ad valorem taxes that are owed to Rankin County.
All right, do I have a motion?
I make a motion.
Second.
All right, Brad makes a motion, Jared seconds. Any other discussion? All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Motion passes.
And just parenthetically, we will continue to work with Gulf South Pipeline customers about the back taxes that all of those customers continue to owe to Rankin County. And we're also moving forward with the litigation against Gulf South. Typically, I would not talk about this, but for being an executive session, since it is a litigation matter. But as you know, where it doesn't impact our strategy or our position in the litigation, we can talk about it in a public meeting. And so with your indulgence, I'm choosing to quickly update you on that to let you know that the Mississippi Supreme Court has now ruled, anybody can go look at the opinion, has now ruled that the lawsuit filed by Gulf South to stop this board from being able to do what it is legally authorized to do, that they filed in Hinds County, hoping to be able to get favoritism, that has been reversed by the Supreme Court, and the Supreme Court has said, Mr. Hinds County Chancellor, you will transfer this to Rankin County where it belongs. And so we are now in the process of beginning the effort to pursue recovery against Gulf South, if necessary, or their customers for the taxes that are owed to the citizens of Rankin County. And I just wanted to get you guys up to speed on that. Mr. President, item B is an acknowledgement of receipt of the new litigation matter that I mentioned to the board at last executive session. It's Alltel Corporation, DBA Verizon Wireless versus Rankin County. This was filed in the United States District Court for the Southern District of Mississippi. That's federal court. And you see the style there. I'm asking you to authorize me as board attorney to execute the authorization of service of process on behalf of Rankin County. I'm also asking for your authorization to execute the motion for entry of order and final judgment on behalf of Rankin County, which will end the litigation completely. I'm also asking that you authorize either myself or Keith or Mr. Gaines as board president to do any and all things necessary to effect the resolution and termination of the litigation if the other things that are listed here are not sufficient. And we're making sure that we get all the authority that we need to get this case resolved and done. I just need a motion, please.
I'll make the motion.
Second.
All right, I've made the motion. Jared second. Any other discussion? All in favor? Motion passes.
Gentlemen, item C relates to a situation after the state legislature passed legislation about 3 or 4 years ago that authorized alcohol sales at a retail location. You remember that was done through the legislature, and it applied to areas that were classified as resort status. There's a small area in Daniel's district, in Jay's district. There's a small area that is considered to be resort status, and we have a few retail package stores that operate in that area. They have to operate by way of a conditional use, and the board has authorized one in particular. You see it listed here, Topper's Wine and Spirits. You authorize by conditional use the operation of that package store location there on Old Fannin. The owners of this facility are asking for permission to transfer the conditional use to new owners. One of the conditions that you adopted when you granted the conditional use was that any change in ownership required that they come back to this board and ask for permission to transfer, and that's what they are doing. And so I've looked at it, I've talked to the representatives of the current owner and the new owner, and I'm satisfied it's appropriate for us to simply transfer the conditional use with all of the conditions that are still there will remain in place. You're not changing anything other than authorizing the transfer.
I'll make that motion to approve.
Second. All right, any other discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Motion passes.
Gentlemen, I have a litigation matter and we have a personnel matter that we need to visit with you shortly in executive session.
Keith?
If
Just
there's
a
any
review?
questions on the July 3rd agenda?
No.
I'm here.
I don't.
I'm good.
I haven't looked at it. Additional business to be discussed.
Mr. President, may I indulge and may I interrupt you?
Yes, sir.
We have Ms. Christiana Sugg, who is here on behalf of a property owner and business owner to discuss with the board tax increment financing plan. This is associated with the Pinelands development. This is in Supervisor District 2, close to Lakeland Drive. The city of Flowood is also involved because it's inside the city. And so Ms. Sugg would like to address the board with respect to the TIF plan, and she may have other things that she wants to address the board. So I'd ask if
Hey, Slate, Bishop's not here.
Yep.
So I know we need him here. I mean, you're more than welcome to come up and address the board on the same side, but we're probably gonna need Bishop here on Monday.
I think this is just informational, Daniel. I don't think we're in a position to actually.
But you'll come back Monday, I guess, and say the same thing then, right?
Well, I'm happy to.
I know Bishop needs to be here to be
Yes.
involved in the discussion, so.
We're not asking
not
y'all to
gonna
take
be
any
here.
action.
Yeah.
He
At all.
He won't be here Monday either?
He's flying out Saturday.
So then go
This-
ahead. There is no Bishop voting then, so go ahead.
This is just for informational purposes, and I was able to talk to two. I believe I talked to you and Jay, and I wasn't able to make contact with the others of y'all. I'm Christiana.
I did call you back.
You did, and I'm sorry, we played phone tag. With Chris Ferris's office in Richland, and we are here on behalf of the developer of the proposed Pinelands development. This is a 40-acre development off of Lakeland Drive, and I think Justin has talked to most of y'all about it. The city is prepared to move forward on Monday and pass its resolution of intent to hold a public hearing on July 17th. And I didn't want the city to take action without us being able to talk to y'all about the county's participation in this. I have copies of the TIF plan here. We're not asking for y'all to take any action until maybe your July 14th meeting, or if you need more time, until August. Our developer is ready to go forward. He's super excited about the project. We are too. But there may be a few questions y'all might have, especially since you hadn't necessarily seen any of the documents. This is a little different from what Rankin County typically does, because we are asking for every bit that we can possibly get from y'all. Usually y'all agree to match the city's millage, 20 mills. And we're asking for about 5 more mills, 5.75 more mills, to be included in the pledge That means that the banks, when they issue bonds, they can consider that amount of money is available just in case, but not as part of what is used to pay debt service, because they have to take coverage out of it. I know that sounds like word salad. But that's the basic difference here, is instead of capping it at 20 mils or 50% of the debt service, that makes about a $700,000 swing as to what could possibly be issued as far as bonds are concerned. I have some numbers here and copies of the TIF plan if y'all want to look at them.
Can we keep them?
Of course you can.
Okay, I would like a packet.
Jay back by the 14th, bro?
It's gonna be gone in 2 weeks.
Close?
Thank you.
In 2 weeks.
Unless it gets put out quicker.
So he could be back.
He could be back in a week.
Be back by next Friday.
Craig, you
July
can-
4th?
Yes, sir. Miss Christiana's gonna make sure I have mine. She's good about that. Thank you.
Yeah, I'm totally good on putting this on the agenda on July 14th.
Yeah.
Have it ready to go at that point there. I just need to speak to Bishop and kind of get his,
Yes.
whether he makes it back from.
Well,
Well,
Daniel, let
seriously,
me ask this. Since Christiana's here,
Yeah, thank
Ms.
you.
Ugg is here, this may be, and I know Jay's not here. I was able to talk to Jay on the phone yesterday, and we talked about several different things, and this actually came up, and so I just quizzed him about what his thinking is. And so I don't think he would mind my reporting to you guys that he has pretty strong feelings about the county's commitment in these kinds of activities, specifically TIFs. And so it's born over a fairly lengthy history of board service and sort of setting rules by which this board can operate and then be able to fairly entertain these TIF proposals from any number of potential developments. And it's not just a Flowood thing, it's not just a Pearl thing or a Brandon thing. It's the idea behind it is that the county is going to get an opportunity to participate in every single one of these TIF proposals that will always originate within a municipality. They don't originate in the county. The municipalities have the authority under state law to issue TIF bonds. The county has authority under state law to participate once a municipality has adopted its TIF plan and is moving forward with the development. You guys have the discretion to either participate or not participate in these. We've always taken the position that we want to participate, but we've put barriers in place to allow for consistency and uniformity on each of these as these requests come. And so I don't blame Ms. Suggs' client at all for asking for more than the county will typically do. But I wanted to remind you about one thing. We talked about this particular TIF plan previously, and where the board sort of settled without having made any formal decision, but sort of where the board had settled was that we will agree to pledge the county's ad valorem, but we will exclude Road and Bridge, and we will exclude Hines Community College millage. Okay? The school's portion of ad valorem is always off limits. It cannot be pledged for TIF debt service. So that's off the table. Nobody's asking for that. And so I want to make it clear, though, when we see things like for educational purposes, that's talking about the school district piece, right? The Hines piece is a separate piece. That's what, 4.8? Somewhere in that range. There's a millage assigned to Hines for their general support and for Hines debt service support. And so that millage would be carved out of the pledge, and the Road and Bridge portion of the millage would be carved out of the pledge. That's sort of where we landed. That's actually a deviation from our normal TIF participation standard. That's a deviation from it. And Jay brought this to my attention. He said, I don't think that I understood that that was what we were talking about doing, that the county would pledge everything except Road and Bridge and except Hines Community College.
in reality, I think the math works that if the board decided to do it that way, Ms. Suggs' client would actually get a better deal than he's even asking for today.
Okay, let's give
All
him
right.
the deal he wants.
Yeah. So, we may want to have a serious discussion on July 3 with Mr. Bishop present.
Well, Bishop's going
About
to be on
what-
the 3rd. That's what he's
He's
saying.
gonna be here?
We may not have him back
Well,
till.
I'm gonna have to get with Jay and make sure that I
You
clearly,
can check in.
definitively understand what his position is. Not that he is the sole deciding voice on this.
No.
By no means.
No.
And I think that needs to be
I
said,
think
and
he
Jay
check-
would appreciate
He ought
me
to
saying.
check in. I mean, he can have a discussion.
He's not leaving till Saturday,
Yeah,
so.
not like he's,
Well, Craig, I will say
Yeah.
this, I hate to negotiate against my client, and I'm not trying to do that. Our request has been for not to exceed 5 million. That's
Mhm.
what our ask is for. So even if there is additional money available, our request has been consistently for not
Yes.
to exceed 5.
And by the way, the way that the TIF plan works, the county's portion is always gonna be in relation to what Flowood's doing. We will always only provide a matching debt service amount. We will never pay more in debt service than the city of Flowood is paying. Does that make sense? There's language in there that says the county's portion of the debt service is 50%, max. So, we're not gonna, Flowood's not gonna be able to say, well, we'll pay, we're just gonna, bill the county first and then we'll figure out what we owe later. No, it's gonna be coordinated so that the county's participation is on par with the cities. That's first and foremost. But what I want us to do, and this is, I think, the occasion for us to do it, is to very clearly state what our TIF policy is, so that then the folks like Mr. Gurris and Ms. Sugg have the rules of the game available to them before they meet with developer. And they can accurately telegraph to the developer, this is how the county typically will participate in these. And that way, we don't get into confusion over, well, what did we do for this one, and what did we do for this one, and what did we do for this one? And while there's always maneuverability on the basis of each proposal, they need to stand on their own. And some, honestly, some proposals are going to be more in keeping with what the board sees as its responsibility to promote economic development, that some are going to be better at checking all of the boxes than others, and we just need to recognize that. It needs to be as uniform as we can make it without being so restrictive that we end up cutting our nose off to spite our face, okay? But it would be very helpful for us on the admin side and the assessor's office and the collector's office if we had a clear understanding about our policy and how to provide that information to the folks who are out there working so that they understand what that is. My impression from talking to Jay, and I'm going to let him speak for himself, but my impression is that Jay is comfortable with the county's pledge in these situations being not more than half the millage. I think he's comfortable there. If they meet all of the parameters, they've got the minimum investment, they've got the number of jobs, they check all of those economic development boxes, then the county's participation should be a maximum of half of our general county millage.
So plans the 14th? You good with that?
Yeah, so I think
On the agenda?
Flowwoods, I don't know where their meeting falls, Daniel, are they on the 17th?
They're having a hearing on the 17th, yes.
Okay. So most of the time in that
Let them
situation,
act first. I was thinking Flowwood was meeting on the 3rd, so I'm sorry about that. So whenever Flowwood gets done, then we'll go from there.
typically we would ask that the municipality make the adoptions first.
Yep.
That's what we typically do. There's been one or two occasions in the past, Daniel, where we've made our adoption contingent upon the city's
Yeah,
adoption.
I was just thinking that Flowwood was meeting before the 14th, so
Okay.
they're not. So if they're not enacted, then we can't do anything until they do.
We probably need to look at that first August meeting for our final approvals. We could do it on the work session in July.
Okay.
That could be a way that we go ahead and get it done. But I think the board would prefer to wait for Flowwood to ink everything up and then come to us? Is that what I'm sensing?
I mean, that's what we've done in the past.
Yeah.
I was just thinking Flowood was meeting before the meeting on the 14th, but they're not.
I don't think that they're gonna
Flowood
adopt
is
it till
gonna-
the 17th.
Flowood's gonna take up the intent and set the hearing on the 3rd. The notice runs in the paper July 5th.
Then they vote
Their
on the
hearing is
17th.
on the 17th.
Okay.
So Chris or I could come on the 14th.
Well, I guess,
Come August.
then I'd like to come on the 14th. If they're gonna set the intent,
That's right.
Then
You'll
I'm
adopt
good
the
with going
notice
on
of
the 14th.
intent on the 14th, and our public hearing will probably be set for the 3rd. I'm not sure about those dates.
I was thinking
Uh,
August 7th.
The August
Third.
what?
Third is the
Third.
work session.
7th, August 7th.
Now, I'm happy to come back, Monday, this 3rd.
it's not,
Y'all want?
it's not
I
gonna
don't
matter
think
because
that Jay's
Bishop's
gonna
gonna
be
be
here.
Okay.
Yeah,
I don't think it'd be
there's no need
necessary.
to it. I mean, same people.
I wonder if Christiana she can keep trying to make contact with Jay just to get his impression on their
You
request.
talked to
And-
Jay though, did you?
I did talk with Jay.
Okay.
And Jay was the one, when I started talking about the millage and the nuances there, he said, you know, it'd be helpful if you came to work session. And I said, yeah, I'm happy to. You know, so,
He,
he didn't tell me he would.
I don't think he
well,
wasn't gonna be
he
here.
didn't know he had some issues, medical.
There's a health issue.
I talked to him last night,
Yeah.
and he didn't need to be up out of bed today.
Yep.
Now, the others I did not talk to. I'm happy to have other conversations if y'all have further questions. The numbers can get kind of weedy, but of course you have your counsel here.
That's, if you have specific questions that Ms. Sugg could help you walk through, please reach out to her. Otherwise, what we will do is have our conversations as best we can to try to make sure that I'm clear about what our policy is gonna be going forward.
All right.
All right, thank you.
Good.
Thank you for your time,
you.
gentlemen.
Chris,
Thank you.
appreciate that.
All right. Do I have a motion to go into executive
No, we
session?
got.
Mr. Kelly's.
Oh,
We got one
Kelly's
more.
here.
I'm sorry. Additional business to
Yeah.
discuss?
Go on up here, Scott.
Okay,
Yeah, he's right there.
yes, sir.
How's everybody doing this morning?
Pretty
Good,
good.
how are you?
Scott Kelly, Renewable Wood Solutions.
Oh, I know what this is. Now I do.
Here to talk to y'all a little bit about a problem that every county and every municipality has, and that's limbs. And what do you do with them? How do we get rid of them? Who else has a copy over here?
We burn them.
Close it, so-
That's what I'm here to talk to you about. Anybody else want a copy?
Being recorded.
Uh,
You've been recorded.
I know.
We got a big burn pit.
Anyway,
Control the burn.
basically in our state, class 1 or class 2 rubber sites are required by DEQ. You've either got to store your limbs and have a chipping service come in to get rid of that, or you have to bury it in your landfill. Both of those services are expensive to do. Basically, a little bit background about myself. I'm a forester, graduate of Mississippi State, and over 20-something years I've been in the timber and logging business. And COVID basically kind of crunched our industry. Basically milk quotas and prices, it made it hard for our family, our business to operate. So we started looking for other ways to take my education and my background and figure out something. And everywhere I went and talked to about limbs and different stuff, people would say, well, what's the solution to it? You know, I don't know. So I started doing research, and anyway, we partnered and worked with DEQ, and our company, Renewable Wood Solutions, has developed a third option for our state of how to properly dispose of limbs. And we are a 100% recycling operation, to where we take the limbs, we put them through a machine called an air curtain burner, that we burn the limbs about 2,300 degrees, and the machine controls the smoke that goes into the atmosphere.
Have you ever found a body in there? I said, have you ever found a body?
Not yet.
Man,
Not yet.
I think 1,800 degrees maybe is preferable heat.
I guess
I'm just talking.
I guess I'm a moving funeral home, I guess. I guess I'm a moving funeral home.
Could be.
But anyway, that's how we got our company name. You know, God had to renew our mind, and as we go around and talk to people, you know, they said, you have a solution to the process. Well, I had gone around and made mention of this before we ever went through the permitting process to even see if this would be something that people like y'all or this county would be interested in. And several thought it might be some options, but you know, at the time we wasn't able, to operate because we wasn't permitted. Anyway, it took about 1.5 years to get our permit process through DEQ. And we became operational back in November. And the first municipality that we worked for is in Rankin County, city of Brookhaven. Basically, city of Brookhaven was chipping their debris, and basically the chips, when they chip, if you got 1,000 tons of chips and you chip it, all you do is change the form. You got 1,000 tons of chips you got to get rid of. That's 45 truckloads. Well, that same 1,000 tons of wood with our process only results in 2 truckloads of ash left over. Our process reduces the wood waste by 95%. So it's a very cost efficient way of getting rid of the wood waste. Well, Brookhaven was spending around little over $300,000 a year for their wood debris disposal at their city site, at their Class 1 rubbish site. Well, this year alone, we're going to save City of Brookhaven $150,000. They were our first one to do work for them in November and into the first of the year. The second, we're in Simpson County, in the county itself, and then also with the city of McGee. City of McGee has a Class 2 site. They bury their limbs, and basically just that little town of McGee, we're gonna save them between $35,000 and $40,000 this year. Basically, they had a little over 5,000 cubic yards of wood they had on site that we went in and, we charged $7 a cubic yard for our service to come in and dispose of the wood and haul off the ash. Well, basically, at that $35,000 price, they figured, their public works guy decided that was gonna be around 200 truckloads of dirt that they were gonna have to cover that amount of debris that they had on site. And see, that's what's something that we can give, is in our process, what it allows y'all to do, it allows you to store your wood on 1.5 acres worth of land up to 9 months. You can back up and dump your limbs out for 9 months. You don't have to worry about it. Whereas right now, those municipalities every 2 weeks are having to put 2 foot of fill over that material. Well, they didn't have their dirt on site, so they had to haul it. So they figured that was gonna cost them about $70,000 to handle that amount of wood, what was there. So it was an automatic savings for them. The next county that we've moved into, we're in Covington County. Covington County Board of Supervisors, they have 2 rubbish sites that we're on, with them. Recently just signed Bolivar County. Bolivar County wants our services. The city of Centerville, Wilkerson County. Basically what I'm trying to point out to is this has kind of been hard to get started, and it's kind of slow to get started because all this is new technology. Well, Scott, why are you here today? The County Board of Supervisors, we don't own a Class 1 or Class 2, which that's why I'm here. I'm aware of that I know as of right now, the only Class 1 is where y'all go to out at Mount Helm, that y'all haul that debris out there. And then the Class 2 sites that are in y'all's county is the city of Pearl, and then the city of Brandon has a small chipping composting site, if I'm aware of. Well, I've talked with the public works director and also the mayor in Pearl, which more of the conversations with the public works director. They're interested in our service, but they've got a huge hole that they would like to fill up first, and then possibly look to our services maybe in the future. Well, we're trying to take a proactive approach to this around our state, not a reactive approach. So what I'm here to propose to y'all is that through our process, a Class 1 or Class 2 is a pretty extended permitted process. It's very expensive, a lot of engineering fees and stuff to get one of those done. With our services, DEQ would allow y'all to have what could be considered a limb storage facility. And pretty well, each district, possibly y'all might want something in your district. And basically, we're not maybe concerned with all I'm looking at your day-to-day, like the little storms we've had in the past couple of weeks, something that maybe is not gonna be considered a natural disaster that the federal's not gonna come in and take over, but I may be looking at on a day-to-day operations, what are we doing with that? And here's the problem as I go around and talk, most counties don't know their costs. They don't know what it's costing them to do what they're doing now. They just know that's the way DEQ says we gotta do it, so that's what we gotta do. So my questions would be is, what is it costing us to go to where we're going now? And what does it save us that if we had some drop spots throughout the county that we can take and store this wood for his service? How does it save us? How does it save? So maybe that's why I'm here today, to start those conversations of how this maybe could implement, and work in your county. But basically what's attached is a little bit of information about the equipment. but then basically I attached a class 2 example, but basically, let's just say, because that's the closest thing to a limb storage facility, it's just clean wood waste. But basically, it would be a proposal to where we would send a letter in to Trent Jones, and if maybe y'all had some sites y'all wanted to use for that, and then we would send that in for the approval through them. And then, of course, we'd have to have a site map, which is an example of McGee's Class 2 site that I've got attached, how y'all would store that, you know, the windrow system that y'all would do. But,
Okay.
trying to think of anything maybe I forgot, but maybe open for questions. But then also, just to show how our operation works, I got a little jump drive that she can plug in. It's 2 1-minute videos, if y'all would like to see. So it's actually working at the McGee site, you know, working for them.
Let's look at it. And Scott, for me, I'll have to get with our engineer and our road manager and see what, over say last 3 years, we have spent getting rid of this debris, taking it to Mount Ham. I mean, if we've got it on the truck, and this is just my thought, we got it on the truck, and we're going to near the Mount Ham site, to unload it just 5 miles or 10 miles from there, is it gonna save us that much money? Because we already have it on the truck, we're already moving it. I see we're having several sites in the county could be advantageous. It just happens that Mount Ham is in the middle of my district. So it may not be as good for me, but it may be really good for some of these other guys. But I want to watch this, and then I'd like to have time to talk with our road manager and see how it breaks down dollars and that type of thing.
Well, one thing you hadn't mentioned any dollars either.
He did. He told us they charge by the
Well,
cubic
by the
yard.
ton, yeah,
Yes, sir, by the cubic yard.
yeah.
You said $7.50 or something like that.
$7.
But what I'm getting at is that.
That's
I think
not
the
the
question-
ashes.
Questions
That's the
come
leaf.
up though, is you wouldn't have to be under a contract. I think that's, once in a contract, it'd only be done when you came onto the site and
Well, basically, how it's working in other counties, basically, what you would do is you make an amendment in your solid waste plan, add us as an option. You know, you can continue doing what you're doing, whether if you had a class 1 or class, you can continue burying, or you can continue chipping, you're just adding us as an option. Well, the other thing, if you'd have told me by the time we became operational and permitted, that I would be going around as many board meetings as I've been to this year, that we would be in an election year like we are right now. Municipalities are not, but counties are. And basically, talking about contracts and stuff, like you're saying, you know, one board, I'm learning this, one board can't bind another board.
right.
But some of my comments are, well, if something's working and it's good for the county and it saves taxpayers money, it ought to be good for the next board that's coming in. Well, so far, we've done this in 2 different ways. City of Brookhaven basically wanted to do a contract with us based on the length of time that the mayor had left in office. He had a 3-year left, and they gave us a 1-year automatic renewal. Because what they're looking at is they have such a problem with their limbs and their wood debris, they want to know they've got something in place to take care of that. And that's what our company can provide. Whereas I've had some other counties that I've talked to, they want our service, but they want to use it, like Covington County, for example, we don't have a contract with them. We've done paperwork, and they're starting to store their debris at their site for our service, but then they have to call me after 9 months. That's DEQ regs.
Yeah.
You know, say 1.5 acres of land fills up, or 9 months' time, whichever comes first. They want to call me on an as-needed basis and see our performance and see how we work. Then they said maybe after 1 or 2 years of service, then they would maybe look for a 4-year contract of a supervisor term being in there. What we were just trying to do on contracts is being able to lock in our price and our service during that 4-year time, because who knows the way everything costs, or equipment costs go up. If diesel goes to $5, you know, we're just looking at, you know, trying to save that. And then also, something that we haven't looked at, and something that I wanted to mention also to this county, y'all are close to home. Our kids, we go to school at Discovery Christian in Florence. We've been there for 7 years. We actually live in Crystal Springs. We actually rent a house in Florence just to cut back on driving time, and kids are driving and the safety of coming up 55. But this is a close county to my home county. My home county, Copiah County, they don't generate the number of volume limbs as this county does. And so I would be willing to work with this county on a volume discount. If y'all can come up with me some numbers, and when I say numbers, I'm working right now with City of Tupelo. When we have to go back after the holidays to go work with them, but they've got a 9-acre site that basically their landfill is gonna run out of room in the next 5 years. And they don't know what they're gonna do. They got a adjoining piece of property that they can buy, but then they've gotta go through the whole permitting process with DEQ to get that to be able to be a Class 2 site. Basically, with our services, we can come in, and once they cover that site, they can just store their limbs on top of the ground, on top of what they've already buried. They don't need an additional landfill. That's the kind of a key to our thing. We save landfill space. We prevent wood from going into that, which burying wood underground is not really a good thing to do. We found out through our research, Mississippi State, wood goes through a heat decomposition, actually puts off methane gas back into the atmosphere. But when Tupelo sat down with me, they knew that they got 2 big cubic yard trucks, like they got a 25-yard and a 30-yard truck that they pick up with. Well, they knew that they put 1,900 loads into their rubbish site last year. So then we can take that and back that out. We can figure a volume for them if that's on their 3-year consistent basis. So that would be my challenge to y'all, is knowing, you know, what your volume is. But any other questions, we'll watch a little video. And as we're talking, some guidelines that I didn't tell you, if y'all decide this is something y'all want to look into, and we start looking for these drop spots where in the county that would benefit for the rehauling or the retrucking or whatever, to keep from having to rehaul or retruck. Basically, the setbacks are going to be kind of basically, I didn't make all 8 copies of this. I don't know who to give this to.
Craig.
But basically, what DEQ, the guidelines would be, is they, for our services, would be the same guidelines of a chipping mulching operation. Basically, and it's safe for us to operate our equipment as long as there's nothing within 150 foot of it. But we kind of add 200 feet to that, just not to store any limbs within 200 feet of the machine, which is, you know, we're portable. We're a statewide permit. We can go anywhere in the state, you know, to permitted sites to work. But basically, the setbacks would be a 250-foot buffer and maybe 500 feet from the nearest house would be the guidelines for the site. So it's not like a Class 1 or 2 that you got to be a half mile from a church, a half mile from a school. Those don't pertain to our operation. So it's a lot easier box to check. Video 1 and video 2 are the 2 things that we're going to click on.
Is it going back? So it's media plan.
Equipment operation. Let's call Janice.
A lot of pressure on them.
I need one more person, don't
Well, they're
Sure,
pulling
it'll
this
be
up. Let the record reflect. Renee had a birthday this week. Happy birthday, Renee.
I think Mr. James had one too, didn't he?
I did.
Yeah.
But just like right now, we're working with City of Greenwood. You know, they've just got a landfill they have to haul all their limbs to. That landfill's charging them $45 a ton for their services. Well, if we can get them set up with our services, we save them a third of the money.
Who do y'all sell the ash to?
We're no longer, right at this time, we're not doing any of that. We're just retaining it all for ourselves, and we're doing some trials on our family farm,
Okay,
seeing, how good it's gonna make the grass grow.
understand.
I was wondering about that.
What is the pH in it? I mean, is it,
Like potash.
is it pot, it's like potash?
No, sir, it's not potash.
Okay.
It's really, it's more like a lime.
A lime?
Yes, sir.
But you know, everywhere you burn a pile, grass gonna grow greener there, so.
Unless you throw a laptop, we don't do that.
Not gonna be able to watch the video.
Too high powered for our operation.
I don't know about
That's
that.
a shame.
But I just appreciate the opportunity, you know, this has kind of got talked around a little bit in the county with a couple of people, but, you know, until I get actually operational and then I can start telling you here, here's where we already are, here's where we're operating, and y'all pick up the phone and call those mayors and those supervisors and seeing how we're gonna, you know, help them. Something else I didn't point out, just to let you know how statewide we're endorsed, Pine Belt Regional Authority, which has 9 municipalities in their district, we're endorsed by them. 3 Rivers, up in North Mississippi, we're endorsed by, and then also Golden Triangle, which just in those 3 districts, that's about 22 counties that they know about us, and that if they see need and the municipality wants our service, they'll endorse it. But we're new. You know,
Well, in a
it's just-
situation like we've had, over the years where we had a storm, a lot of storm damage, and we've had, I know several years ago, we had huge piles that we couldn't haul fast enough, so we just had huge piles. Well, unless we were approved, we couldn't bring you in to help, disperse them. We had to be pre-approved, right?
No, sir, not in a declaration, in a disaster situation. That, some of those rules kind of go out the.
Well, okay, let's just say we weren't in a declaration, we didn't get, there was not the threshold, we didn't meet the threshold for that. But yet, we did have some large, sites of limbs. I just wonder if it would be beneficial if we were approved, could get approved, and then you would come in and charge, I guess, it sounds like you'd come in and charge by the ton, or cubic yard.
Yes, we just have the engineer would come in and do, basically it's old school math, length time, width time, height.
Yeah.
You know, get to divide by 27, and then they put it in an arc view, you know, map, you know,
Yeah.
come up with the cubic yards. The cubic
I was just
yardage
thinking
is
about
there.
when we have some unfortunate disaster situations.
So
With the
the
stockpile.
process, Jared, appears to me to be, you need to define a site or sites, plural, around the county. You would need to address those sites as it relates to any permitting requirements through DEQ. They would assess that, and you would explain to them, this is gonna be a wood debris operation that would be exempt from the typical regulations that require cover over that material if it's gonna be stored for any appreciable length of time. I think what Scott's telling you is, DEQ gives you a 9-month window to handle the debris if you're going to handle it through this process.
Right.
And so you don't have to cover
Right.
that material. Y'all remember when we were offloading debris at Marquette? And we had a visit from our good friends at DEQ who like to roam around Rankin County from time to time. And they told us, y'all got wood debris out there that's not covered.
Yep.
This is what Scott's talking about. If you're gonna store your wood debris, you need to have a way to dispose of it. And his
Process
method
is that.
provides for disposal so that you avoid having to cover. So
Or
I
touch
think-
it with any equipment.
Yeah, so
Basically, back up, dump and go.
the secret here would be, is there a desire on the part of the board to locate strategically sites across the county where we could literally store storm-related debris, more than likely, and allow it to be disposed of through this process, understanding that the fee associated with that will be by the cubic yard for a flat fee, a stated fee per cubic yard. Does that make sense? And the only way to answer that question is to figure out what is it costing us to run everything up to Mount Helm and offload it there. There is a fee, by the way, associated with that.
Yeah.
Every square yard that goes
Yep.
into Mount Helm, we pay for that.
Right.
So we
Well-
can track that.
Per ton.
And you're also filling up your landfill in the
Per
process.
ton.
And it's filling up the Mount Hill
Yeah.
landfill.
Yeah.
Now, you know, the owners and operators of Mount Hill may be just as happy as they can be about us filling it up with wood debris. I don't know. But the long and the short of it is that there is an alternative and an option that can be looked at.
We'd have to have somewhere other, I mean, Marquette wouldn't be
I
far enough away
don't
from everything.
think,
It'd have to be another site,
I think
yeah.
you could have two. One that would be close for
Southern end.
these
South
guys,
Uh-huh.
and I don't know the location, but I'm just
But just like right
guessing.
now in Florence, they haul it in there to the site on White Road, that's one handling way, and they have to
Yep.
dump it, then they have to go back down there, reload it up.
Right.
To haul it off. That's what we're trying to
Yeah.
prevent. We're trying to, the double handling, if that makes any
think
kind, how do you figure some of those
south
numbers?
side of the interstate, somewhere one, and then the north side, Daniel,
Right.
myself, and Jay, one. And then, I mean,
We just need to look at it.
yeah.
For example, Green County,
That's a
Green
good-
County right now is just exactly like y'all. They don't have
Who?
something, Green
Green,
County is exactly like y'all. They don't have,
we have 165,000 people.
what now?
I said, we have 165,000. Green probably don't
No,
have
they don't have that.
16,000.
They're like y'all in the way of, they don't have something in their county plan of what to do
Yeah.
with wood debris. So what they're working on right now is looking at putting 6 to 8 drop spots throughout the county.
That doesn't
For our
cost
service.
us more for you to be mobile around
No,
6
sir.
or 8 or 2?
No, sir.
Okay. We just have to find, we gotta get the numbers
Yeah, look
crunched.
at it.
And then find a sweet spot.
Yeah.
Because we have to have the property to pile it up and leave it for 9 months. And you couldn't just I know 2 acres on Holly Bush Road, but we certainly couldn't pile it there. It's right across from
A
a,
5 to 10 acre site is
yeah,
really all you need.
yeah.
Scott, what is it costing counties or municipalities to go through the permitting process with DEQ? They gotta pay an engineer.
Right. Well, that's some other things that our company can bring to the table. Basically, what we've developed for the counties is through our engineering firm and working with DEQ, we've developed the template. Basically, so far, for anybody right now that has a site that wants our service, that's all they gotta fill out and send in is the paperwork that I handed to y'all to add us in their plan. Doesn't cost them anything.
How many times? Is that annual or?
No, sir, it's a one-time.
One time.
It's a one-time thing.
Okay.
But basically, but in y'all's situation, y'all don't have anything. So what's gonna be the time is conglomerating and seeing where would be give us a handful of spots that we
Yeah.
think might would work. Well, then, what we would do is just draft a letter to DEQ and show the map, site map or whatever, and then we've got a FC&E engineering here local, so my engineer, I think y'all are familiar with them or use them.
Heard of, you know.
You know, here, Ken Faulkner, the owner of that.
Oh, yeah, I know.
Yes, sir, that's my engineer that's been working with us,
Yeah.
you know, throughout the
Okay.
state and doing it. And basically submitting that to DEQ to see if that site will get approved.
Yep.
So
Okay.
really, it's not
Yeah.
that's the whole key to this.
It's easy.
It's not the fees, it's not that.
Well, amending the solid waste plan is, you gotta go through that drill,
Yeah.
and that's typically a 60 to 75-day process at a minimum, so.
That's the answer I can't answer,
Yeah.
maybe
We
directly,
have to
but
amend that.
Yeah.
in the process with a class 1 or class 2 to add our services, there is no public hearing, there is none of that.
Mhm.
But with y'all wanting to have a limb storage spot, see, I don't know if that's gonna have to consist of a public notice to go out and say that's gonna be declared.
I don't think this works without us having a location.
Right.
Where the debris can be
Yeah.
stored.
Yeah.
It won't work.
Right.
Or they could work out an agreement with the landowner or whatever, hey, we'll lease you this, whatever, for
Yeah.
such and such.
Right, if y'all got a
dollar.
landowner that's got a spot, that's a perfect thing, you know, that wants to.
Come in there,
Right off the
nothing
highway.
around it.
I mean, you're close to interstate.
Yeah.
I mean, for them to haul, our guys to haul it.
That's what-
All right, thank you.
Well, I'm glad.
Thank you.
It's been good today. Glad, appreciate the
You
participation.
too.
Thank y'all.
Thank
Uh-huh.
you.
Mr. Marsh, you were asking about our debt. I don't know if I sent y'all an email or not, just so y'all know, our numbers have went up. We're about $700,000 is our new threshold for Rankin County. 5.2 million statewide. You gotta hit both of them.
You gotta hit both of them?
To get any kind of assistance, I'm talking about.
Declaration.
From
Yeah, but you
FEMA.
gotta hit both of them?
You gotta hit both.
So the county's how much? I got quizzed about
It's
this.
right at 700,000, it's like 680.
But 700,000 with the county, but see, you gotta, so really the number is
That's
5
right.
million.
That was my argument that I had with MEMA a year ago after our last fiasco. Part of the reason they're mad at me, I told them, well, at that point in time, it was 4.3 million statewide. And I told them that's our new threshold in Rankin County, it's 4.3 million. When we go do a windshield assessment, if we don't have $4.3 million worth of damage that would qualify, then we're not gonna play the game.
That is uninsured
Yes.
damage,
That's-
and that's
we're not
our
gonna-
problem.
We're not gonna play the game and waste all of the money,
Yeah.
time, effort, man hours.
Yes.
The ladies up here wasting all this time and effort and money to put all these numbers together. If we don't meet the statewide, because the last 3 times we did, I don't know how many hundreds of hours, Miss Swan and all her staff, it's crazy to get nothing.
Well, our issue is they need to take some of the verbiage out about insurance.
That's right. Our
People
problem is our
do what we
people are
want to
prudent
do,
and do what they're supposed to
and
do.
we
They
pay
insure their
insurance. And this is a real problem where you have insurance on your home and contents, and you have a barn, and you have a shop, or whatever's out here. It may or may not be insured. Probably not insured to the point it'll replace it, but because so many of us are insured, we don't get any money to help with
That's right.
that barn.
That's right. We had a phone call just 2 days ago, I got the voicemails if you'd like to hear them, from according to the voicemail, it was a pastor, that his niece's property had big trees down and the roof was damaged. Beth took the phone call, explained to him that we have not met thresholds yet, you're gonna have to reach out to some civic organizations to get some, we can't do it as a county.
Yep.
And she said, I'm gonna send you through to our director. He said, I don't wanna talk to anybody, I wanna see some action. I want somebody to come out there and cut them trees out of their yard. When I got that phone call, I had burnt their phones up, and they will not take no calls, but I was ready for that one. And that's what we run into on a daily basis. As bad as I hate to say it, our citizens in Rankin County they take personal responsibility, they insure their properties. And that's why we we don't ever get any help from the
So the only answer would be if the threshold, the 5 million threshold was lowered. That could
If
help.
they would just take the verbiage out about the insurance.
Right.
5 million we would reach that every time.
Let me pile on Mike's frustration by pointing out that we are literally at the mercy of every other county
Yep.
to do as efficiently what Rankin County does in order to meet the statewide threshold. And the frustration is, there's likely plenty of damage in adjacent counties, but they don't take any effort whatsoever to document their losses.
Yep.
So Rankin County is now hitched to the inefficiency, bordering on incompetency, of adjacent counties.
Huh.
That's the problem. And so Mike's point, if Rankin County can meet the statewide threshold,
Then we're good.
we'll go through the trouble.
Yep.
But we're not gonna have to rely on the other counties around us to do their work.
Okay, this was asked point blank, so explain to me then. The state threshold is 5 million?
5.3.
Okay, 5.3. But the county one is
It's almost 700,000.
700. But we won't do any good unless we meet the state.
You have to
The
meet both.
state, both of them, the county's got
So you have to
hit
have both of them.
700, and the state's got
So that
to have
doesn't make much
5.3.
sense.
You have to have both. And then, what all that really does.
Let
is
me
it gives
message
you-
that a little bit more carefully. We don't have to meet the state threshold, that wouldn't make any sense. We may as well meet the state threshold, otherwise we are not gonna get any relief. Practically speaking, it doesn't do us any good to have 700,000 worth of damage.
Right.
Which is our threshold.
Right.
And be eligible to receive, but only if the state threshold is met.
Well, see, that's what I'm saying, it doesn't make any
Counties aren't
sense.
doing their
That
work
doesn't make any
here.
sense at all.
Yep.
Just like McCullough McLean, that's the first thing they're asking, and I understand why.
Yep.
But you can't tell them, Oh, we are 750, but you're not gonna, it has to be 5 million, so
Yep.
there's no need in having a county one.
This is, this is part and parcel of what it means to have a federal interest. The federal government is not going to hand us federal money unless there is an established federal interest. And they have made a decision that says if it's just impacting one county, there's not enough federal interest there to justify spending federal money in just one county.
I got you.
It's gotta be more widespread than that. That's their rule. So that's why you have a state threshold and you have a local threshold.
Yeah, but it doesn't do any good to have
It won't-
a local.
Practically speaking, that's it. I think that's what Mike's trying to get the
And
point.
Mr. Marshall, also too, let's make the assumption you did need it. All that does is triggers FEMA. Now, they're gonna send their own people down here to go through and do assessments on everything we just sent them to make sure that it really does need it. And I'm guilty as well. My personal opinion, if I've got a house, a tree that's all the way through the middle of the house, I want that destroyed. Just to me, it's destroyed. It's unlivable. Well, it's really not. It's just major damage. So that knocks it down on the list. If they're insured, they're all the way to the bottom of the list. It's very frustrating dealing with them. It really is. So I just want to give you those new numbers.
Yeah,
right.
It used to be 500,000 and 4.3, and now it's almost 7 and right at 5.3.
But
So-
it won't matter if you don't make 5.3
That's
million.
right.
So
This
don't
This
even-
is-
you don't even need to bring the other part up, because that throws confusion
And
in.
this is not a state statute.
No, so this is federal.
Yeah, this is FEMA.
All right, are we ready to go in executive session?
Yes, sir. The two things that we'll be talking about is prospective litigation and also personnel.
All right, I make a motion that we go in executive session for legal matters and personnel matters. I got a second?
Second.
Daniel seconds it. All in favor? Aye. Aye. Okay, motion passes.